Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Jamal Adams' reaction on social media to the Myles Garrett negotiations. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're pretty much anywhere you get your social media. And also, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast. New episode drops every Monday. If you haven't already, please make sure to call in, leave me your question. I'll try to get to it on the show. So Jamal Adams has made it very well known that he wants to get paid, and he wants to get paid now. So keep that in mind when we talk about Myles Garrett, who apparently is starting negotiations with the Cleveland Browns. They are looking to pay their edge defender, and I get it. He's number one overall pick, and he's truly lived up to the hype. He's been phenomenal. Over the last 26 games, he has 23 and a half sacks. Now, Jamal Adams sees that, and he's like, hey, I want to get paid too. So he comments on Bleacher Report's Instagram post, and this is what he says. As they should. Well deserved, MG. I can't even get my first proposal that they said they would send over in January. I was called, quote, selfish though. LOL. A lot of talk, no action. Hashtag stay woke. I truly don't think that Jamal Adams understands positional value. And I know what the comments are going to say. Jamal Adams doesn't have a position, which is true to an extent. He is still a strong safety. And I know he does a lot more than your average safety. I get all that. He is arguably a top 3 safety in the sport. You can make a really good case that he's the best overall. And I wouldn't argue with that. I would say at worst, he's the 3rd best safety in the entire league. But when you look at the body of work between Jamal Adams and Myles Garrett, like him or not, I'm not the biggest Myles Garrett fan, but he definitely gets after the quarterback. There's no denying that. 23 and a half sacks in his last 26 games is definitely enough to look at and say that that's a good enough sample size to say he is an elite pass rusher. An elite pass rusher is going to make significantly more than an elite safety. That's just the way it goes. That's because of the position that he plays. I understand that he doesn't think it's fair, but if you're not an elite edge defender or at least someone who could rack up sacks or a really, really good cover corner, more often than not, you are not going to get paid a ton of money or at least have priority. And right now, Jamal Adams has no leverage whatsoever. The Jets don't have to pay him right now. They have him under contract for this year. They have him under contract for next year. They could franchise tag him after that, and if they really wanted to, they could franchise him another time. That's 4 more years. I'm not sitting here saying that they should do the things that I just laid out, but I think it would make a ton more sense if you pay Jamal Adams after this year. You want to do that after his 4th year in the league? Fine. I'll say, okay, it's time to pay Jamal Adams. But right now, why? There is zero reason to pay him. Jamal Adams doesn't have any leverage. Give me a reason other than to appease Jamal Adams to pay him right now. Pat Mahomes, for same draft class, he hasn't got paid yet. Are we going to say that Jamal Adams deserves to be paid before Pat Mahomes? No, that's ridiculous. The number 1 overall pick from that draft class getting paid before Jamal Adams? Someone who's had almost a sack per game over the last 26 games? I'm not going to argue that one either. I understand Jamal Adams is frustrated. He feels like he's being undercompensated, which is true to an extent. But it's just becoming extremely frustrating to hear this guy complain day in and day out. I understand you want to get paid, Jamal. I really do. Eventually, it's going to come. He's going to reset the safety market. There is no denying that. But continuing to beat down on the organization and just to create controversy on social media is getting tiresome. I don't think it's doing him any good. Especially with the New York Jets and Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas has proven over this past year that he isn't going to go out of his way to pay someone big money or cave into a player's demands. He has a plan. He's going to do the thing his way. And if Jamal Adams doesn't like that, well, maybe this is Jamal trying to push his way out the door. I'm not necessarily saying that's the case, but maybe it's a possibility, because why else would he be complaining on social media about it? I understand the frustration, I really do, but I think it all stems down to this. When the New York Jets accepted trade calls on Jamal Adams, I think he took deeply offense to it and hasn't really recovered from it, and they haven't really been the same. Both sides, the Jets and Jamal Adams, in terms of their relationship. Now, I get it, but you have to understand that this is a business, and it would be stupid for Joe Douglas not to accept calls. I'm not saying you actively shop Jamal Adams, but if someone says, hey, I'll give you 3 first-round picks for the guy, you have to pull the trigger on it. let someone offer way over compensation for it, like way over market value. I mean, when you're whatever the record the Jets were at the time, the trade deadline, they were way out of it. They maybe had 2, 3, 4 wins in the bag at that point. Then what are you doing not listening to offers and trying to get as many assets as possible? Like I said, if someone makes you a ridiculous offer, you have to take it. And that's not to say that you are sitting there at the trade deadline dangling Jamal Adams out there saying who wants him. But if someone calls, let's say for instance Dallas called last year and was like, "Hey, I'll give you 2 first-round picks." Do you do it? I would assume Joe Douglas would probably do it for 2 first-round picks. But I don't know. This whole situation is just getting a little frustrating. I wanted to take a little bit of time to think about this one because when the news first came out, I was like, what the hell's going on, man? What are we doing here? And I wanted to cool off a little bit from it and just give a little bit more of a rational take, not something that was so emotional at the time. So I sat back, I listened to both sides a little bit. I'm still kind of frustrated by it. I understand why Jamal wants to get paid. I really do. But he has no leverage right now. There's no reason, again, there's no reason for the Jets to go out of their way and pay him right now. That's just the fact of the matter. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments down below. Disagree with me, same thing, let me know. You can follow me on social media. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary NY. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll talk to you next time.